Welcome back. If you've ever heard her say, "I just want someone who's honest. I don't like drama. I'm looking for someone who's safe and decent." And then a few weeks later, you find her holding hands with a not-so-nice and not-safe guy. Welcome to reality. Women aren't attracted to words, they're attracted to the emotional framework you create. The truth is, women want emotion, not logic. They want guidance, not "what do you want" questions. They want inner strength, not weak promises. If you believe her words more than her actions, you'll always be hurt, lost, and replaced. But if you understand one simple principle, reacting logically is weakness. Observing behavior and controlling your emotional framework is strength. Then you will lead the relationship instead of being led by it. Number 1. She says one thing but does another. Why you should trust her actions over her words. Let's be honest. Most men get blindsided in relationships not because women lie outright, but because men listen too closely to what women say and ignore what they do. You've probably heard a woman tell you she wants a kind, honest man who listens and cares. And then 2 weeks later, she's ghosting you, texting her toxic ex, or manufacturing drama over a text you didn't respond to fast enough. It doesn't mean she's a bad person. It means her behavior is revealing a truth her words can't or won't admit. This is where most men fall flat. They take her words as gospel and use them as a manual to win her over. But here's the reality check. A woman's real emotional truth lies not in what she tells you, but in how she shows up around you. She may say she wants peace, but keeps chasing chaos. She may say she's ready for commitment, but flakes on plans without explanation. She may say you're different, but treats you like a backup plan. And yet, you convince yourself she said she cares. So you chase, explain, rationalize, and drown yourself in confusion. That's not clarity. That's delusion in disguise. Psychologist David Buss points out that people, especially women, are wired to say socially acceptable things. She may say she wants emotional honesty, but if that honesty triggers vulnerability, she's not ready to confront. She'll retreat into avoidance or games, not out of malice, but instinct. This disconnect between what she says and what she feels is what psychology calls cognitive dissonance. And it's where your attention as a man must shift from her lips to her patterns. When a woman's actions contradict her words, don't fight it. Don't confront her trying to make her see the truth. Don't drown her in emotional essays trying to make her validate your worth. Observe. Pull back. Let her behavior speak louder than any beautifully crafted sentence she might throw your way. For example, if she tells you she's serious about a relationship but goes radio silent every weekend, don't accuse or interrogate. Instead, reflect reality back. "Hey, I noticed we haven't really connected lately. Let me know if that changes." Then walk away. Your distance will do more than your explanations ever could. Or maybe she says she hates drama, but consistently brings emotional chaos to your doorstep. In that case, stop trying to be her emotional anchor. Say less. Let her feel the weight of her inconsistency. The truth is, women respect men who observe without reacting, who maintain their center even when emotions storm around them. The Stoics had a word for this: equanimity. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Don't explain your philosophy, embody it." In other words, stop trying to convince her of who you are. Be it. Stop trying to decode her words. Read her actions. That's where her unconscious motives lie. And here's where things get real. A woman's behavior reveals what she truly values. If she cancels plans but shows up for her friends, she values them more. If she says she wants you but doesn't prioritize your time, then you're not her priority. No amount of romantic gestures will change that. So what should you do? Build your life around truth, not fantasy. Stop romanticizing potential. Stop needing her words to validate your worth. Start watching how she invests or doesn't in the connection. Respect is not something you ask for with words. It's something you command with clarity. The moment you stop chasing her verbal approval and start responding to her actual behavior, everything changes. You gain power not by control, but by self-respect. You stop reacting, you start choosing. You become the man who doesn't get lost in sweet nothings because he's too busy living in truth. And that's what women ultimately crave, not a man who listens to every word, but a man who sees her even when her words try to hide what's real. So the next time she tells you something that doesn't line up with how she behaves, pause. Don't argue, don't explain, just pay attention. Let her actions tell the story, because they always do. Number 2, she cries but still leaves. Why a woman's feelings aren't her true desires. It's one of the oldest mistakes men make. A woman shows emotion, she cries, says she misses you, says she's confused, and you take that as truth. You believe it's a sign that she wants to come back or that deep down she still loves you. So you comfort her, reassure her, maybe even wait for her to change. But here's what you miss. Her feelings are not the compass you should be using. Her actions are. She might say she misses you, yet continues texting her ex. She might say you're the only one she wants, but disappears on weekends or cancels plans without explanation. She may look you in the eyes with tears and swear it's different this time, but 2 days later she's distant again. These are not glitches. These are patterns. Emotions are fleeting, circumstantial, influenced by stress, mood, hormones, or just the weather. Actions, on the other hand, are consistent. They reflect her deeper values, her instincts, and her real attraction. As evolutionary psychologist David Buss puts it, women are drawn to traits that signal long-term stability and leadership, confidence, direction, boundaries. Not someone who caves in to every emotional spike or tries to understand her out of his own need for closeness. So when a woman says she wants someone sensitive, she might mean it. But if she keeps choosing the confident guy who doesn't let her emotions throw him off course, that tells you something deeper about what she truly responds to. This is where most nice guys get wrecked. They believe that if they show more empathy, stay emotionally available, or make her feelings their mission, they'll be chosen. But women don't want to be rescued from their feelings. They want a man who remains centered while they ride theirs. You don't lead by getting lost in her emotional storm. You lead by standing still in the eye of it. So what does this look like in real life? Let's say she tells you she's confused, that she's not ready for a relationship, but still wants to talk. You don't try to clarify, you don't chase. You say, take all the time you need. I'm moving forward. That's not cold, that's honest. That's you valuing your time over her indecision. Or she cries and says she misses you, but continues hanging out with other guys. You don't interrogate her, you don't wait around. You say, when your actions match your words, we can talk. Then you leave, not because you're trying to play a game, but because you're no longer a player in her game. This isn't about being heartless, it's about having standards. Epictetus said, observe your emotions, do not obey them. That wisdom applies to you, but also to how you interpret her behavior. Don't react to tears, confusion, or sweet words. Watch how she behaves after the feelings fade. That's who she really is, and that's who you're really dealing with. If she consistently makes time for you, shows up, and respects your space, then her words have weight. If not, don't explain, don't convince, adjust. When you shift your focus from temporary feelings to behavioral consistency, you stop being a man ruled by wishful thinking and become a man grounded in truth. And that's what creates real attraction, not being everything she cries about wanting, but being the man she can't shake because you don't bend to temporary storms. In the end, she may cry, but still walk away. She may say she loves you, but keep choosing chaos. That's not your cue to chase. That's your signal to stand tall, stay calm, and let her go if she won't act like she wants to stay. Because her true desire isn't in the words, it's in the follow-through. And only men who know the difference stop chasing the emotion and start commanding respect. Number 3. Why being the nice guy makes you invisible to women. If a woman tells you, "You're such a great guy," and yet somehow she keeps canceling plans or falling asleep early every time you try to meet, there's a hard truth you need to hear. She's not confused. She's not scared of love. She's just not attracted. And ironically, the very thing that makes you great in her eyes might be the same thing making you forgettable. You see, being the nice guy often feels safe. You listen, you're available, you're respectful. You never push. You think these things will earn you points, and in a way they do, but not in the way you hope. You earn a label: dependable friend, the emotional sponge, the backup plan, not the man she can't stop thinking about, not the one who creates tension, desire, or excitement. And that's where it all goes sideways. Because romantic attraction is not built on safety, it's built on polarity, the push and pull between masculine and feminine energy. And what most nice guys don't realize is that by constantly agreeing, always being available, and never challenging her emotionally, they're erasing their own polarity. They become flat, predictable, emotionally soft. Now, don't get it wrong. Kindness and respect matter. But if they come wrapped in passivity, emotional dependence, or a complete lack of boundaries, they become suffocating rather than attractive. So when she says, "You're amazing. I wish I could find someone like you," but somehow she's not choosing you, believe her actions, not her flattery. When she leans on you for comfort but keeps dating the guy who never calls her back, she's telling you unconsciously that safety isn't enough. Women aren't looking for cruel or arrogant men. What they crave is presence, decisiveness, and energy. And often, nice guys trade all of that in exchange for likability. They filter their truth, they tiptoe around disagreement, and they avoid risk. But attraction requires risk. The risk of leading, the risk of being rejected, the risk of showing strength when it might not be rewarded. Real masculine energy is calm, clear, and centered. It doesn't need to be aggressive. It simply doesn't fold when pressure shows up. That's why, when you stop trying to prove your worth by being the nicest version of yourself and start living with direction and boundaries, everything changes. Imagine this. She calls late at night, wanting to vent for the 3rd time this week. You sense she's using you as her therapist, not her partner. Instead of indulging, you say, "I care, but I'm not here just to process your confusion. I value clarity and connection. When you're ready for that, let's talk." You didn't yell, you didn't chase, but you also didn't make yourself her emotional safety net for free. That's attractive. That's leadership. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." And that includes having enough self-respect to stop earning love by audition. Being good doesn't mean being passive. Being good doesn't mean avoiding conflict. Being good means being grounded in what you value, even if that means walking away. Psychology backs this up. Studies by Buss and Shackelford show that women consistently rank traits like confidence and decisiveness higher than emotional compliance. They want to feel a man's direction, not just his affection. They want to trust his ability to lead, not just his ability to listen. So if you find yourself stuck in the good guy trap, ask yourself this: are you being good because it's who you are, or are you being agreeable because you're afraid of losing her? Women don't fall for the man who pleases them the most. They fall for the man who makes them feel most alive. Stop hiding behind kindness. Lead with clarity, speak with truth, and watch how quickly she starts seeing you not just as safe, but as unforgettable. Number 4, she speaks in emotion, not logic. You thought you were being clear. You listed every effort you made. You reminded her of the text you sent, the dinner you planned, the time you canceled work just to be there. You thought that logic would reassure her. Instead, she grew colder, distant. Her eyes glazed over like you'd just recited a legal document instead of opening your heart. Here's the truth most men miss. When a woman says, "You don't care about me," she's not making a factual accusation. She's expressing an emotional reality. She's not looking for a spreadsheet of your good deeds. She's looking for resonance. She's looking to feel understood in the moment she feels most disconnected. That's the part we screw up. Because as men, we're wired for solutions. We hear a complaint and our brain races to fix it. But for women, communication is not about resolution, it's about connection. It's about feeling seen, felt, and emotionally mirrored. And if you try to solve what's meant to be shared, you unintentionally invalidate her. You turn her feelings into problems instead of portals for intimacy. This is why so many arguments between couples go nowhere. A man thinks he's explaining. She thinks he's avoiding. He thinks he's bringing clarity. She feels dismissed. The emotional current keeps rising and he gets frustrated, wondering how I've done everything I could, somehow still results in, "You're never there for me." It's not that your logic is wrong, it's just not what she's speaking. Psychologist Deborah Tannen studied gender communication and found that while men typically use conversation to establish status or solutions, women use it to create emotional alignment. When a woman expresses hurt, what she wants isn't correction, it's connection. She wants to know you see her experience, not just analyze it. So what do? You stop debating the facts and start acknowledging the feeling. If she says, "You don't care about me," you don't defend. You don't list the reasons you do. You lean in and say, "I hear that you're feeling disconnected right now. That matters to me. Talk to me." That single moment of validation often diffuses what hours of explanation cannot. You don't have to agree with the emotion to acknowledge it. And you don't have to absorb her storm to stand with her in it. That's the difference between empathy and emotional entanglement. This is where Stoic wisdom becomes unexpectedly powerful. Epictetus taught, "We cannot choose our external circumstances, but we can always choose how we respond." You don't have to get pulled into every emotional wave she rides, but you do have to recognize that emotion is the ocean she's speaking from. And instead of shouting across the shore with logic, sometimes you just have to step into the water with her for a moment without losing your footing. Most men think masculinity is about staying strong. But real strength is the ability to witness emotion without fear, to hold space for someone else's feeling without trying to shrink it, fix it, or run from it. That's what makes you emotionally trustworthy. That's what builds connection. So next time she says something that sounds like an accusation, pause. Ask yourself, is this about logic or emotion? If it's emotion, meet her there. Be the man who doesn't panic in the presence of pain. Be the man who listens not just with ears, but with understanding. Because when you speak the language of presence, not defense, you stop being the man who doesn't care and become the one she trusts deeply without needing words to explain why. Number 5, she tests you, she doesn't tell you. She won't say it outright. She won't text, "I want to know if you're emotionally stable and confident under pressure." No, she'll cancel dinner last minute. She'll reply late, drop your name next to some other guys in a casual story, or throw in a random cold tone just to see what happens. And if you react, if you chase, question, over-explain, or double text, you fail a test you never even knew you were taking. That's how women test men. Not because they're manipulative, but because biologically and psychologically, they've evolved to screen for strength, emotional strength. And the best way to measure that isn't by asking. It's by observing your reactions when things get a little off balance. This isn't a conscious checklist she's ticking off. It's primal. It's her nervous system evaluating, can I relax around this man? Is he centered when things go sideways? Does he spiral or does he remain grounded? Evolutionary psychology explains this instinct well. David Buss pointed out that women, especially in long-term mate selection, seek signs of emotional resilience and leadership. A man who collapses under emotional pressure sends the signal, even unintentionally, that he may not be a reliable anchor when things get tough. So she tests you, not to punish but to see your center. If she pulls back slightly and you lean forward instantly, she learns she controls your state. If she throws in a passive-aggressive comment and you rush to defend yourself or please her, she senses neediness. If she withdraws emotionally and you panic texting 3 times in a row, wondering what you did wrong, you're broadcasting insecurity disguised as care. It's not the act that breaks attraction, it's the lack of frame. Your inability to hold your emotional space. So how do you respond? With calm, with detachment, with a grounded presence that says, I see what's happening, I don't need to control it, I'm good either way. If she cancels plans, don't ask why or try to guilt her. Say, no problem, hope everything's okay, I'll use the time for something else. Let me know when you're free. If she delays her reply, don't follow up with a needy check-in. Let silence be your reply. Let her wonder, let her lean in. It's not a game, it's energy. And the man who doesn't flinch earns her respect not because he's cold, but because he's composed. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." That's the essence of frame. You don't fight for approval. You stay rooted in your path, and if someone wants to walk beside you, they must match your pace, not test your patience. The irony is when you stop reacting, you start attracting. She senses the weight in your silence, the confidence in your non-response, the leadership in your boundaries. You stop trying to convince her, and she starts wondering how to get closer to a man she can't quite figure out. Because women don't follow words, they follow gravity. And if you collapse under small tests, she'll never trust you with her deeper layers. But if you pass quietly, calmly, without ego, you become the man she can't shake from her mind. Not because you won, but because you didn't need to. Number 6. Why asking her what she wants kills attraction. There's a quiet death that happens in many relationships. It doesn't begin with a fight or a betrayal. It begins with a question. What do you want to do tonight? Where should we eat? What do you want me to be for you? On the surface, these questions seem kind and considerate. They come from a place of wanting to please her, to make sure she's happy. But underneath, they scream something else, something primal. They signal a lack of direction, a lack of certainty, a lack of masculine spine. And whether she realizes it or not, it starts to drain her attraction. Because she doesn't want to lead. She wants to follow a man who already knows where he's going. This isn't about dominance or control. It's about polarity. Feminine energy thrives in flow, in response, in surrender. But it can only do so when it feels the presence of direction. When that direction is missing, the polarity fades and so does the spark. She doesn't want to make every decision. She wants to feel the strength of a man who makes one, confidently, without needing her approval first. Psychologically, this has roots in evolutionary theory. Women have developed a radar for emotional security and certainty. A man who constantly asks what she wants shows that he's unsure of his own path and subconsciously signals he may not be able to lead in more important moments. When stress hits, when decisions matter, when life gets messy, that's not attractive. That's anxiety-inducing. And let's be honest, if you're asking her what to do because you're afraid of making the wrong move, you've already lost the frame. Attraction isn't built on safety from decisions. It's built on conviction in them. So what do you do instead? You lead, not as a tyrant, but as a man with a plan. Instead of, "What do you want to do tonight?" say, "Be ready by 7. Dress warm. I've got something fun planned." If she pushes back with a test or teases you with, "What if I don't want to?" Don't collapse into apologetic backtracking. Hold your ground with a calm smile. You'll enjoy it, trust me. That phrase, "trust me," carries weight when it's backed by confidence, by presence, by the energy of a man who's rooted in himself. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." In dating, that means stop seeking her instructions and start embodying your intention. She doesn't want to design your masculinity. She wants to experience it. Ironically, when you stop trying to please her every desire, she starts trusting your leadership more. She relaxes, she softens, because now she doesn't have to carry the mental burden of always choosing. You're giving her something far more valuable than options. You're giving her certainty, and certainty in a chaotic world is rare. It's magnetic, it's masculine. So the next time you're tempted to ask, "What do you want me to do?" Pause, breathe, and remember that leadership isn't about perfection. It's about presence. It's about claiming space without asking for permission. When you do that, she doesn't just feel chosen. She feels safe. She feels the thrill of being near a man who doesn't need to be told what to do. And that's exactly the kind of man she can't stop thinking about. Number 7, she wants your strength, not your open wounds. It starts innocently enough. She tells you she wants a man who can open up emotionally, someone who's vulnerable, who shares, who expresses his truth. So you listen, you take it to heart. The next time you feel anxious or lost or unsure, you let it out. You say things like, "I don't know who I am anymore," or "I feel like I need you to help me through this." And then something shifts. The warmth in her eyes fades. The admiration disappears. Her body is still there, but her respect is not. What happened? The answer is buried in a contradiction that most men don't understand until it's too late. While she may ask for emotional openness, what she's actually attracted to is emotional strength. Not your ability to spill your guts, but your ability to hold them. She wants to feel your emotions, but only through the filter of your stability. She doesn't want to be your therapist. She wants to feel safe around your presence. She wants to know that no matter what's going on inside you, you're still grounded, centered, unshaken. Because deep down, she's not testing your sensitivity, she's testing your frame. Psychologically, this traces back to evolutionary triggers. According to research by Buss 1989 and Eagley 1987, women are wired to seek partners who provide security and emotional leadership, not because they're fragile, but because attraction is linked to survival cues. A man who collapses under pressure, emotionally or otherwise, signals instability, and instability to her subconscious mind is dangerous. That doesn't mean you should become a robot. It doesn't mean bottling everything up until you explode or pretending like you have no emotions. It means becoming the kind of man who can carry his emotions, not dump them. Instead of saying, "I'm falling apart and I need you," say, "I'm facing a tough situation, but I have a plan. You don't need to worry." That single sentence transmits volumes. It says, you're aware, you feel, but you're still in control. And that control, not the absence of emotion, is what creates desire. When you overexpose your emotional wounds in the name of vulnerability, you're not inviting connection. You're asking her to hold space that's not hers to carry. It forces her into a masculine role she didn't ask for and probably doesn't want. It flips the polarity and turns her attraction into obligation, and nothing kills romance faster than that. As Epictetus taught, control your emotions or they will control you. True strength is not in denying your feelings, but in owning them without letting them own you. It's in knowing when to speak and when to hold. It's in sharing your truth without needing her to fix it. So, yes, be real, be honest, be human, but always lead with your strength, not your chaos. Let your emotions add depth, not disorder. And if you're going through something that genuinely shakes you, Reach out to mentors, brothers, or professionals, people who are built for that kind of support, not the woman who's trying to feel safe in your arms. Because when she feels your strength, even in your storms, that's when she truly leans in, not because she has to, but because she wants to. Number 8, when you stop chasing, she starts choosing. There's a moment every man faces in a connection with a woman where he feels the impulse to do more. More texting, more compliments, more effort. He senses her pulling away and instinctively leans in, thinking that if he just tries a little harder, she'll come closer. But she doesn't. She fades. She gets distant. She goes from warm and curious to cold and indifferent. And suddenly, he's confused. Wasn't I doing everything right? That's exactly the problem. The harsh truth is that the more you chase, the less she chooses. When a man overextends, trying to win her over with availability and approval, what he's actually communicating is emotional dependence. And dependence is the opposite of desire. What most men don't realize is that women aren't drawn to effort, they're drawn to value. And value doesn't beg, it doesn't chase. It doesn't send 5 messages in a row, hoping for a reaction. According to Robert Cialdini's principle of scarcity, people are more likely to desire what feels rare and selective. If you're always there, always available, always the one texting first or filling the silence, you eliminate all mystery. There's no room for curiosity, no space for her to wonder who you are when you're not in front of her. No intrigue to trigger her choosing instinct. Here's the brutal irony. When you stop chasing, she starts feeling the pull to chase you. Not because you're playing games, but because you're finally giving her something to choose from. Your time becomes a privilege, not a default. Your presence becomes meaningful, not a given. But this isn't about manipulation. It's about reclaiming your center. It's about understanding that your time, energy, and attention are valuable, and that giving them away too easily says more about your self-worth than you think. Take this example. You've been texting a girl, things are going well, but then she starts responding slower. You panic, you send another message, then another. You check her social media. Maybe you post something you hope she'll see. And with each move, you're not just giving your power away. You're silently screaming, "Please validate me." And she feels that. She doesn't analyze it logically. She just feels that shift in energy, and it turns her off. Instead, imagine doing the opposite. She takes a day to reply. You don't follow up. You focus on your goals, your training, your purpose. If she comes back, she does so not because you begged, but because she felt your absence. If she doesn't, then you just saved yourself months of emotional investment in someone who was never truly interested. As Marcus Aurelius said, be content with yourself without needing others' approval. The man who stands in that mindset is rare, and rare is attractive. When a woman feels your attention pull back not in punishment, but in presence, she feels a new question form inside her. Why isn't he chasing me? That question is the beginning of desire, because now you're not performing for her. You're simply living for yourself, and that is what sets you apart. So stop over-explaining, stop proving, stop flooding her inbox with reminders of your interest. Let her breathe, let the silence speak, let your absence have weight. And when she starts to choose you not out of pity, but out of genuine attraction, you'll know you've made the shift. From chasing approval to embodying worth, from desperate energy to grounded presence, from being an option to being the one she chooses. Number 9. Control the emotional frame. Lead the relationship. The moment you let her emotions dictate your actions, you've already lost your frame. It happens subtly. She gets upset, so you cancel your plans to make her feel better. She pulls away, and you overcompensate with apologies and validation. And just like that, she's no longer responding to the man she was drawn to. She's managing someone who's being led by her mood swings. Women don't do this because they're malicious. They do it because instinctively they want to feel the strength of your emotional leadership. Evolutionarily speaking, women are wired to test a man's emotional stability, not by asking, but by reacting. As David Buss noted in Evolutionary Psychology, the partner who holds the emotional frame sets the tone of the relationship, and women are attracted to the man who holds it. But let's make this real. Imagine you're planning a quiet Friday evening for yourself after a long week. She calls and starts venting about her day. She's upset, a little passive-aggressive, hinting that maybe you don't care. You were looking forward to your night, but instead of holding your frame, you cave. You drive over. You cancel your plans. You step into her emotional vortex. And in doing so, you communicate one thing loud and clear. You don't lead, she does. Now, here's the reality most men miss. Holding frame isn't about being cold or emotionally distant. It's not about being indifferent to her feelings. It's about standing in your values while still honoring hers. It's being grounded when she's not, calm when she's reactive, clear when things get messy. When you do that, you give her what she craves most: emotional safety. Daniel Goleman's research on emotional intelligence highlights this exact point. The leader in any group is often the one who regulates emotions most effectively. In relationships, that's you. Your calm is her anchor. Your presence is her peace. So what does that look like practically? When she gets upset over something trivial and tries to bait you into conflict, you don't take the bait. You acknowledge her emotion without abandoning yourself. You say, "I understand you're frustrated, but I won't argue when we're both reactive. Let's talk when things settle." That sentence, said with composure, does more to reignite respect than 100 apologies. Or when she throws a last-minute test, like canceling or being vague about plans to see how you respond, don't spiral. You hold your ground. You respond with calm clarity. "All good. I'll move forward with my day. Let me know when you're more certain." The tone isn't punishment, it's leadership. Epictetus put it beautifully: no man is free who is not master of himself. In relationships, freedom doesn't mean detachment. It means you don't give your emotional keys to someone else. You decide the tone, you decide the pace, not with force, but with grounded presence. The moment you control the emotional frame, you no longer react, you respond. You're no longer trying to please, you're leading. And ironically, it's in that quiet control, that calm dominance, that she begins to relax. She feels like she can let go, be feminine, be safe. And in that space, the relationship becomes something more than a tug of war. It becomes a dance, one where she trusts your steps, because you never let the music control you. You move to your own rhythm, and she follows, not because she has to, but because she wants to. Number 10. She follows the man who owns the frame. Let's be honest. Most men lose the relationship not because they weren't good enough, but because they couldn't hold their emotional frame. They thought if they were more understanding, more reactive, more available, she'd stay. But women don't follow emotional chaos. They follow strength, the kind of strength that doesn't yell, the kind that doesn't argue, the kind that calmly stands when storms rise. That's what owning the frame looks like. The emotional frame is the lens through which your relationship is viewed, and the person who controls it sets the tone. If you surrender it, even unknowingly, you lose the power to lead. You become a passenger in a car that was once yours. She might still be around for a while, but she no longer feels safe. Not safe like a woman wants to feel when she's around a man. Because safety doesn't mean protection from the world. It means protection from herself, from her own chaos, from her own tests, from her emotional spirals. And that's something only a man rooted in his own emotional center can provide. Let's say you've made plans. She's upset about something trivial and starts throwing emotional grenades. You never think about how I feel. You know that's not true. Your instinct? Defend yourself. Over-explain, justify, maybe even cancel your plans just to calm her down. But in doing that, you didn't calm the storm. You fed it. You told her without saying a word that her emotional weather controls your sky, that her waves dictate your direction. And now, instead of feeling secure, she feels unsettled. Because she didn't need you to bend, she needed you to stand. Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." That's the art, not coldness, not detachment, but calm clarity, emotional stillness in a world constantly trying to provoke you. When she spirals, you remain grounded. When she tests, you remain firm, not dismissive, not cruel, just unmoved by the pull to please or prove. Daniel Goleman's research on emotional intelligence shows that those who lead effectively are those who regulate emotion, not mirror it. In relationships, the man who holds the emotional frame is the one who provides stability, psychological gravity, in a universe of shifting moods. That doesn't mean you ignore her feelings. On the contrary, you listen, you acknowledge. But you don't get dragged into her emotional chaos like it's yours to solve. You lead her through it. So when she says something like, "You never care about me," you don't defend. You respond, "I can see you're upset. Let's talk when we're both in a better space to hear each other." That's frame, that's masculine leadership, and that's what commands respect. The moment you start over-apologizing for being yourself, tiptoeing around her moods, or adjusting your values to avoid conflict, you've already lost her attraction, not because she's cruel, but because unconsciously she no longer feels led. Owning the frame means you bring clarity where there's confusion, stillness where there's chaos, direction where there's drift. You don't control her, you lead yourself. And in doing so, you offer her something most men never will: a space to let go, to soften, to trust. Because the man who owns the frame doesn't chase peace by avoiding conflict. He creates peace by being unshaken by it. And that's the man she'll always respect and choose. Women don't need you to guess what they want. They just need you to be a man who is strong enough not to ask and still lead the way. She's not attracted to kind words or soft pampering. She's attracted to stability when she's unstable, calm when she's angry, and withdrawal when she checks. You don't need to analyze every text. Just ask, what does her behavior say? And more importantly, am I acting on my emotions or my values? If this video helped you see the other side of the sweet talk, subscribe, turn on the bell, and comment below this. I react to her facts, not her emotions. See you in the next Stoic love video, where men don't need to please to be irreplaceable.